I will now call to, well, hello. I will now call to order the THPRD Board of Directors meeting for August 13th, 2025. Jessica, will you please call roll?
Barbie Miner,
Here.
Tia Pink,
Here.
Alfredo Moreno,
Here.
Miles Palacios,
Here.
Pradnya Patel.
All right. Let's see. Do we have any action resulting from executive session?
I move that the Board of Directors authorize staff to adjust the purchase price for the property in the southwest quadrant of the district as discussed in executive session, using system development charge credits, subject to the standard due diligence review and approval by the general manager or designee.
I'll entertain a second. Okay. We have the motion ready for vote. Jessica?
Barbie Miner,
Yes.
Tia Pink,
Yes.
Miles Palacios,
Yes.
Alfredo Moreno.
Yes, sorry. All right, we are moving on to our audience time. Let's see, do we have public testimony? Yes, okay. Public comment is an essential part of government meetings, and the board is grateful for everyone here to participate. This is a valuable opportunity for us to listen to community perspectives on district issues. We thank everyone in attendance for doing your part to maintain a spirit of mutual respect and courtesy as speakers and listeners in this space. Speakers will have 3 minutes each, will be called in the order in which they signed up, with priority given to those addressing items on tonight's meeting agenda. This is not a time for dialogue. We're here to listen, and we'll ask our general manager to follow up as needed. Let's see here. To ensure that we're able to complete our scheduled business, the board president, me, may limit audience time to 30 minutes as needed. I don't think we'll need that tonight. Public testimony may always be shared in writing as well, and district staff will ensure that the full board receives a copy of any testimony submitted via email. So thank you very much. I think the one in my hand is Aiden Bassett. Did I say your name right? Please step right up. You should see the little color coordinated. And then we'll just ask you to state your name and address and zip code for the record. Not address, name and zip code for the record. Thank you.
My name is Aiden Bassett and the zip code is 97401.
Thank you. And you can begin whenever you're ready, and they'll have the time there and the lights will turn. So thanks for being here.
President Moreno and directors, my name is Aiden Bassett and I'm an attorney and the Oregon director of F-. Thank you for your time this evening. I'm here to urge you to take the bold step of choosing a new lobbyist. One of THPRD's objectives in its 2023 comprehensive plan, as I'm sure you know, is to be a leader in climate change response. But THPRD's lobbyist, Meriwether Strategies, also lobbies for oil and gas giant BP. I know you know this. I know you all care about the climate. So let me tell you a story. My dad was born and raised a few miles from where we're sitting. He spent his summers in the many beautiful green spaces in and around Beaverton, where much of our family still lives. And in his stories of being a latchkey kid in these parks 50 years ago, no one feared they might someday be gone. Today, kids grow up, like I did, learning a simple but darker truth. If we keep burning fossil fuels at the current rate, then the places we call home will become increasingly uninhabitable. Drought will turn our forests and parks into kindling. Our communities will be far more likely to burn. I know you know this too. So I'm asking you to join the mainstream of elected leaders taking real climate action. Multnomah County and states like Maine and Delaware and Hawaii have sued BP and other oil giants for their central role in the climate crisis. Fortunately, action can be much simpler than a lawsuit. You can simply choose another lobbyist. State public records show that almost 1,000 lobbyists have at least one Oregon client without also having fossil fuel clients, meaning THPRD is among the tiny minority of organizations who retain fossil fuel lobbyists. In recent weeks, F- has contacted hundreds of voters in the district, and they told us they couldn't understand why THPRD would pay $18,000 a year to someone they knew also lobbies for fossil fuels. And that's what I can't get out of my head. You and I know about the climate crisis. We know which corporations are largely responsible. We know the consequences our kids will face if we don't act. So I urge you, show your constituents you are the decisive leaders of conscience they hoped you would be. THPRD's commitment to sustainability doesn't have to be a hollow promise limited to using less fertilizer or less water. We can't landscape our way out of the climate crisis, but we can teach our children that when you know better, you have to do better. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Thank you for being here. All right, any other public testimony? We don't have any at this time, so we will proceed to our next agenda item. It's agenda item number 5, board time, and we are discussing our committee liaison assignments for the upcoming fiscal year. So let's see, we've got Audit Committee, Fiduciary Committee, Nature and Trails Advisory Committee, Parks and Facilities Advisory Committee, Equity and Engagement Advisory Committee, Tualatin Hills Park Foundation are our committees. And I think just would love to hear from each of the board members which committee you would have an affinity for, and let's go there. How about that? Miles, go for it.
I have an affinity for serving as our liaison to the Fiduciary Committee. And I would be happy to step into any other roles as needed.
Great. Okay, Miles, interest in the Fiduciary Committee. Tia, do you have a committee you are?
I think the Parks and Facilities is the only one I haven't done yet. Well, and Foundation, but you
Okay.
might stay there. So I don't mind.
Parks and Facilities?
Yeah, take it off.
Perfect. That would be a great one. Barbie Miner joining us remotely.
Sure thing.
How are you feeling about your committees?
Yes, I would be definitely interested in the Equity and Engagement Committee, as well as if we needed support on the Audit Committee.
Great, thank you for that. Pradnya Patil is out. I have an interest in staying as a trustee with the Tualatin Hills Park Foundation. We've got a lot of work to do still. So one day maybe you'll get rid of me, but it's not this year ahead. So, that would leave Pradnya, who would serve on the Nature and Trails Advisory Committee. So I feel like these are always great to have just our community, our direct feedback in real time, to hear what folks in the greater Beaverton area and the communities we serve are thinking about the work we're doing, and constructive feedback and all of that good stuff, setting this district up for future success. So appreciate everyone. We'll go with, just to confirm, Barbie Miner on the Audit Committee, Miles Palacios on the Fiduciary Committee, Pradnya Patil on the Nature and Trails Advisory Committee, Tia Ping, Parks and Facilities Advisory Committee, Barbie Miner also on Equity and Engagement Advisory Committee, and Alfredo Moreno on Tualatin Hills Park Foundation. So I don't need to bang a gavel or anything like that for that. We're gonna move on here to, oh, this is still board time. Sorry, I almost completely rushed us out of here. Anybody have anything you'd like to open with? Share, this is your time, my friends.
I don't have a lot to share or open with, really. Just one thing is in my day job, I work for the state and was in Boston this, last week, I think. Time moves fast this summer. But I was at the National Conference of State Legislators, and I'm just always really intrigued when I get the opportunity to intersect with other states and how they work government at every level. And it just always makes me really proud of Oregon and really proud for our specific district and how we serve our community. We are very unique in this nation, and we do some truly incredible work. There's always room for improvement, but I'm excited that I get to be a part of that effort to improve along with all of these folks here, both along the board, with our staff, our single staff and our staff, and then all of our community members that are here today and that have come in to any of our facilities. So yes, just that's my little comment.
Great, thank you, Miles. Tia or Barbie?
I have no updates.
No updates? Barbie, anything on your end?
Sure. I'm excited for Nature and Trails. I know we're going to be making some changes here with our committee. So excited to welcome Pradnya to Nature and Trails. We had a wonderful outdoor activity plan for our members of that committee, and due to heat, we rescheduled for next week. So looking forward to getting together with our members of the Nature and Trails Committee and actually getting out. And I'm sure, Mr. Barbarash, I'm sorry I'm not there. I can't see if you're there and present in the room. But taking us to actually get out and physically touch and feel our spaces. So very excited to have that take place next week. And I would also just like to hold space, and by that, not a soundbite, but to just acknowledge that we are experiencing a time of a lot of fear and anxiety of what's happening out in our local community. And some of you may or may not be aware that there has been an uptick in ICE activity out in Washington County. And there was an actual detainment that took place very near. It looks like I just got cut off of my internet. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, apologies. But there was a detainment that's at a private daycare that was very near our Conestoga Center. And so I just want to acknowledge that the tenor of what's happening out in the community for many of our patrons may be a time of great concern. And so just so grateful for the work that we do at the district to see the humanity and dignity in all of our neighbors. And create safe spaces for folks to come together and recreate, to try new things, to enjoy nature, and to do so under the banner of just seeing one another and understanding that, as I always say, there's nothing more democratic, in my opinion, than, again, just the beautiful world in which we live. So I just wanted to speak to that and to let our community know that we're not blind to what is happening and the impacts that this may have on our patrons. And as always, here to listen and learn continually and provide the support that we can from the district's point of view. Just wanted to make a nod to that.
Thank you, Barbie. Thank you. Let's see. I have a couple of things here. First of all, just want to salute my fellow director, Barbie Miner, and I, as we start our second term, and my return to holding this mighty wooden hammer here. It's good to be back, and it's good to be back for a second term. So I feel like I understand a lot more, for better or for worse, what is happening than the first meeting of my first term. It didn't seem all that heavy at the time, and now it seems, whoa, we have a lot of very big things happening. So I guess the blessing of experience there. I wanted to salute real quick our staff and the work they did to assemble our bond task force. I thought it was an outstanding group of highly experienced folks of a lot of different walks of life who will be a big asset as we decide and get our community feedback about that big decision. So thank you for that effort, and thank you for those who expressed an interest in being a part of that. Finally, I really want to talk about just how impressed I am with THPRD's overall staff helpfulness at all levels. I had an opportunity today, as my kids have been in half-day camps and things, just to sit for I've had an opportunity the last few days just to go to Conestoga Rec Center, where near where I live and where my son and daughter are holding camps, and just sit there in the lobby and just marvel at all the action that happens around me, with staff of all ages and experience levels helping students and parents and people. One person was very sweetly reassuring a little boy who had gotten wet either internally or externally, and was just doing a great job, heart forward work on what's a tough time for any of us who have had that happen. And I've just seen just the buzz of action and activity this time of year is really something to behold. And very specifically, I just want to quickly mention and salute a couple people who joined us here today. Father of the Year here, I had my kids home earlier in the summer and thought they were off from camps, which is a lesson to never do that. And I thought they were acting up. I said, that's it. We're going to go somewhere right now to get outside and we're going to play. And I took them to Pirate Park, my 10-and-a-half-year-old and my 6-year-old, and they're running around. And I was trying to do some work in the shade. And about 30 minutes after we were there, I immediately get my daughter, my oldest, comes up and says, Alex is stuck. And I said, I don't know what that means. Alex is stuck, my youngest. And I go, and lo and behold, the lad had managed to get himself stuck in a ladder of the playground equipment. And I didn't think anything of it. I thought I'd be able to shove his leg back up. I tried to do that. His leg would not go up. And he was legitimately wedged in about mid-thigh into a piece of the ladder. I'm the incoming board president. I instantly didn't quite know what to do, so I probably should have some sort of hotline for somebody. Thank goodness there was a Nature Mobile pop-up that happened to be there at the Pirate Park, and I was able to come over and say, this is really awkward. My son is stuck in the playground equipment. I know this isn't your primary job. And long story short, I just really want to thank Alex Ramos and Leanne Pinninger for your work. My son was, you all quickly jumped in calmly. I stayed pretty calm too. My wife was was very impressed. And then, well, Alex, I think you were kind of coordinating response. Leanne came over and just kind of hung out with my daughter, with my son. My son was there maybe about 30 minutes or so stuck in the equipment until TBF&R was able to come in and unbolt the equipment and get him out. I'm glad the equipment didn't have to be sawed or anything, and that affects the budget. But he was unhurt. He only described it as being boring that he had to sit up there for so long. But I'm honored that you would come in, and I just want to say thank you on behalf of our family, and thank you all of THPRD's helpers everywhere, wherever you are, because I know this is just one little story and instance of hundreds of thousands that have happened over the years. So thank you both, Alex and Leanne, and here's you. All right. Thank you. That is our board time. Apologies for hogging the mic here. We are moving on to our consent agenda, and I will entertain a motion.
That the board agenda as submitted.
I will second that motion.
All right, moved and seconded. Jessica, would you please take roll?
Barbie Minor,
Yes.
Miles Palacios,
Yes.
Tia Ping,
Yes.
Alfredo Moreno.
Yes. All right, we are on our final agenda item. This is General Manager's report. Aisha, Holly, and Bruce. Great.
Good evening. We did not plan to have this on the board agenda, but we did not plan to have this happen on Saturday. So we wanted to take a quick moment just to acknowledge we did have a glitch with registration on Saturday. I really want to thank our leads in IT. One of them is in here, David. You'll be embarrassed that I called him out, as well as Bally, Chris, and others. They worked tirelessly to try to address it, but after 2 hours, we had to follow the excellent wisdom of our recreation managers. And I want to credit Ann Johnson, who was on the scene and did a great job that morning. But we had to call it, which was very uncomfortable for us, and move registration to Sunday. So we have determined what the issue was, so we know exactly what caused it. We're still working on the why, so give us some time to understand a little bit more about why it happened. It was not a problem with the registration system itself. It was with the website. So we have corrected the issue that occurred. Very interesting, though, during the 2 hours, we realized a few things. And we're having an after-wash meeting next week. So give us the opportunity to continue our due process. But I think the outcome of this is going to be we'll be in a stronger position. So during the hypothesis stage of what was going on, got a little list of some could be this, could be this, could be this. And so now we're going to look at our hypothesis list of all the potential vulnerabilities that we thought it could be. And we're going to have an awesome strategy to mitigate those in addition to what occurred. We're also going to work on a business process. So I do want to say we had some very quick action on social media. We had difficulty getting into the website to adjust our banner message. And we had a lot of feedback. And it was interesting because people asked very quickly to move registration. And there was some poor father out there who posted like, my wife won't let me leave the computer. Please tell me what's happening. I have to sit here all morning. So another thing that we want to talk about, and Julie and I were laughing about, and not, I mean, I'm not laughing at that gentleman. It's just an adorable story. But we want to come up with an after action process. If something were to happen again, we understand, we waited 2 hours to make the decision. Some people said, thank you, that was quick. And some people said, I couldn't leave my screen for 2 hours. That wasn't quick enough. So we want to think through that process and how the process moving forward. So when we have the full why, if we can get there, we'll give you a full report on what happened. But, the good news is our website project is underway, and we are still working toward replacement by the end of the year. So more to come on this topic.
I'd like to just jump in real quick and just say, as one of the people sitting at the computer hitting the refresh button, am I correct in assuming this has never happened before, to your knowledge? Just, yeah. Yeah.
I think staff did a remarkable job of getting to a point. Fairest thing we can do.
I wish there were easier ways than having to experience a extreme challenge to just say, oh, maybe if we did this, and this will shore us up in the future. But yeah, just wanted to insert a thank you there before we move on to other topics. So, okay, we are heading to the bond planning update. Is that correct?
You bet.
Okay.
Good evening, board members and visitors. Nice to see some other folks here tonight. I'm always going to start you with this slide because it's really important to know we're moving through a process. Right now, we're still kind of on the planning part, but we're very solidly entering the engagement portion of it, because the engagement portion is really critical to understanding what we might want to put on the bond measure and responding to the community. And Holly has been doing some great work, which I'm going to let her tell you about.
Okay, so thank you for confirming our task force appointees. So one focus point for us over the last month was just finalizing that recruitment, evaluating all of the applicants, and coming up with what we think is a wonderful pool of folks to help us on the bond task force. We also completed some qual boards, which essentially are virtual focus groups. We focused our research on voting precincts where we underperformed in the 2024 levy ask. I was really hoping to answer the question, Why do these folks feel different about investing in THPRD than other spots? I was a little disappointed. You know, we're still waiting the final report, so more to come on this research. I don't think we got a really great answer to that question. The feedback overall was not that different than what we receive in other portions if we were look general population. But I was trying to understand, is there higher tax sensitivity? Is there concerns about service levels? No, not really. We did do some initial talking with them about the concept of a bond measure renewal, and there are not a lot of big surprises here. The message that this is a bond renewal is the single most convincing message. So that it's not going to increase your tax rate. Message and that timing of going in May of 2026 is so important for us and so on point with how people feel. These folks are tax sensitive, but they actually appreciate a bond renewal message. The linkage of keep paying what you're already paying instead of increasing helps them feel a little bit better, even though they're still tax sensitive. People also really want to understand the downsides of not passing a bond measure. You're not going to be surprised. People don't know the difference between a levy and a bond, so we've got work to do there. But they really want to know, what are the impacts if I don't vote yes for this? So, you know, articulating and doing a really good job explaining what the bond will help us do, what it will help invest in, and how it's going to keep facilities open, really important. Another subcomponent of that is they are really aligned with some of the key messages that we're contemplating for this bond measure, including, I want to give a lot of credit to our 2024 levy task force. When they told us to focus on maintenance and replacement in this bond measure, they gave us the best public involvement advice we got, because that resonated with the folks we were talking to in the qual board experience. If you're going to have to ask me to invest more tax dollars, what we heard from these folks is, I'd much rather pay it to maintain and replace and deal with safety concerns and take care of things. So again, you're kind of seeing this theme of, yes, people are tax sensitive, but they're being a little more discerning in how they invest those dollars. And they're very appreciative of investing in taking care of things and maintaining them. Accountability was something else that we heard. They want to know about the 2008 bond measure. They need concrete understanding of what a bond measure does, some of the success of that. We also shared with them some information about THPRD's history of managing finances through the bond measure, refinancing them, saving the district money, all very positive messages. And finally, I will say, there was even though these were underperforming precincts, people still feel very favorably towards THPRD, and they really aren't associating their feelings about THPRD as an organization with investing or not investing. That's not the link to tax sensitivity. It's really discerning the individual choices. So interesting stuff there. Next up for us will be refining, working with our public advisory group and preparing a polling question that we can put out to the public and working through that information. And then in a couple of months, bringing that forward to the task force and sharing those recommendations with them. So that's what's cooking right now.
So continuing in this line of planning, we have been working on updating all of the functional plans, as you might recall. And there's a new functional plan, the facilities functional plan. And it's a really important one in that it's looking at our buildings, our historic buildings, our recreation centers, our aquatic centers, and it's looking at 20 of the kind of most critical buildings. And what the plan does is it creates a vision of, this is what we're shooting for. It has the same format as the other functional plans. Where are we at? Where do we want to be? How do we get there? And then eventually the evaluation piece of how are we doing? And what's really helpful at this point in our our bond development is understanding which buildings possibly should be considered for improvement, which buildings should be maintained as is, and which buildings should we consider divestment or other kind of lesser levels of investment in. And so it helps us put the money in the right places in a lot of ways, or at least put the proposals out there. And we rank the buildings, or the consultants rank the buildings based on their utility, their structural integrity, and a number of other factors into kind of good, fair, and poor. So we have a really good snapshot of where are our facilities at this point from an outside group of experts. Ultimately, the plan helps us to know really where is the best return on investment for our patrons. And as we move forward, this again helps us to bring information to our bond task force, information to you, and for staff to make recommendations that we hope make sense for you and the patrons. Also, based on the facility functional plan and what we're hearing from initial public engagement activities, we put together this table of just directions, and I want to give you a moment to soak that in. And what I'll kind of emphasize is the green column is these are making things that are really important to our customer better or keeping them intact. Things on the right are things that, like, those would be really nice to have, but they may not necessarily be the most critical things to spend with bond dollars. And of course, we can refine, we can adjust, but this is kind of a trend of what we're anticipating. So a critical part of this process is, again, working with the public. Thank you for appointing the task force members, and to Holly and her team for recruitment. I think we had an embarrassment of riches of willingness from our community to participate, which is so cool. What we're going to do starting in September is we'll queue up a series of meetings with these community members. They'll be in person because we really want folks to bond. We want them to feel comfortable with each other and with staff about learning and about communicating their feelings. And a core team will consist of Aisha, Holly, Jared, myself, and then specialized staff who come in with specific experience or specialty areas to help the task force understand different things. And our basic process is up here on the screen. Effectively, the first meeting is really like, we want to make sure the committee has the background on our financial state and what we do and how we do it. Second meeting is, hey, this is where we're hearing more broadly, so they know both what the internal state of affairs is as well as external. And then a third and fourth meeting are really a lot of discussion. What are community members hearing? How do they feel? How are they responding? And one of the key things that we'd love to hear from you tonight is, we have the two square bullets there at the bottom. We're assuming the things that you most want to hear are what types of projects are of interest. So they're not going to say, we want you to add a new slide at this park, but they'll say, we would like to see more playground replacements, or things that are categorical versus specific to a site. And then, of course, we'd like them to make a recommendation of, should the board refer a bond renewal to the public? Are there other things that you would like the committee to specifically answer or consider?
Nothing is coming to mind immediately. I'm thinking back to the project areas list. Is that something that will also be provided to folks in conversation? Or are we trying, like, what is the approach going to be as that first question is prompted?
We have bond categories at this point, and so we'll explain those to them. We'll give some samples of, here's an example of what this type of thing might look like. So we have kind of, I'm going to jump back a slide. When we talk about major renovation of Beaverton Swim Center, that lines up really well with our facility functional plan. and it lines up with what we're hearing of, hey, we want to take care of these things, it would be really easy, not really easy, but it would be a more straightforward thing to say, we're just going to fix the stuff that's broken here. But if we're looking at a major renovation, we might be looking at making the facility a little more modern and more functional. So we would explain the difference between those two projects. And then get a sense from them, are you more interested in really just replacing what's here, or do you want something that is more modern and more functional, again, without knocking down the whole thing and starting over? So we'll give them things like that that are categorical with a specific, but we won't say, do you vote on this project, but do you support this type of project?
Bruce, if I could jump in. I think the question on the next slide about, are we asking the right questions? Is there anything else you want us to ask? Just for comparison, for the levy in 2024, we asked the task force to answer 3 questions. Should we go? When should we go? And for how much? This time around, we really don't feel like we need to ask the how much, because we know it's a continuation. And so we feel like that's a pretty firm recommendation. We need to explain it. We need to understand if they support it. But that's really not a line that we're comfortable crossing of asking more. So that's pretty much an easy one for us to answer. The question on timing, when should we go? Again, not something we feel like we need to ask this time. Bond renewals are once in a 20-year thing, and that timeline is, a pretty predictable outcome for government agencies, and we know we're going at the right time. So the question of should we go is definitely the one that we need them to focus on. And with those 3 basic questions we had before, and 2 of them being, very simple in our minds, we just want to know, is there something at a very simple basic level that we're missing? Not anything deeper than that. So
If we're along the lines of like the who, what, where kind of stuff, like I think the where is an interesting thing for me. Thinking about like what I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of intentionality in the recruitment for these groups, but also kind of like where in our community do just need a little bit of a facelift or things like that.
that's great.
Thank you.
Barbie, I see your hand up.
Sure thing. Thank you. It's kind of in line with what Miles was just suggesting. I wonder, and I'm just riffing off of this prompt here of like, what would we need to ask them? So hear me out. I'm curious if there's a way in which we could get some visioning at the same time. I'm so mindful that we did our vision task force and that has given us a view. But I wonder if there's a gap that we're missing here in terms of moving directly to a project and missing the why part. And so I wonder if there's a way in which we could also ask them to weigh in on is there some way that at the end of this bond process, or if we're embarking, like what is a deficit that is known, or what needs to be created to see the district flourish across the next 20 years that could be enabled by these the renewal of these bond dollars. I know that that's probably a little bit of a word salad, but I think we move very quickly to just, should we do it or should we not? And if we do, then these are the types of projects. And I miss a little bit of what we would be trying to solve, and would hate to overlook an opportunity with these wonderful volunteers who've stepped forward, and a polling opportunity to maybe scratch into that a little bit.
Okay, we can work on that. Thank you.
Do you have anything?
No, I like. Just to piggyback on Barbie's thing, I would hope we kind of discuss our vision stuff with them also, so they have that in mind, so that the things that they pick, they're aware of if it fulfills a bucket within our visioning. So I don't know if they need like a session on that or something, but that was a great thing that Barbie mentioned.
Okay, can do.
Yeah, I honestly don't have any additions to this one at this point. So, yeah, we can move on to the next one.
All right, thank you. We will start working with the bond task force in September, and we'll meet roughly once a month for the next couple months. So as ideas or questions come up, by all means, let us know that. As Holly mentioned, we'll continue with the polling, and then ultimately what we're moving towards is refining and creating kind of a project mix and list for consideration. So that concludes our report for tonight, but we're open to any questions or further suggestions that you have.
Any other comments, questions about the bond process? Anything else good? Barbie, you set, thumbs up. I think I am good. I mentioned the bond task force. Again, I think I'm excited to see what that group of folks with their expertise in life and otherwise will offer us. So with that, we are adjourned.